Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and today is kind of a special program because one of the things we advocate here is to be your own hero, follow your dreams, and do what others tell you that you can't. And I'm very proud to introduce somebody that I grew up with, Jonathan Conover, and one of the actors, a well-known character actor. You've seen him in Law and Order, The Sopranos, films like Patriots Day, Vault, and many, many others. John Fiore, with this new project called Down the Shore, that's kind of a brilliant mixture of the mafioso genre and the reality genre. So, over the next half an hour or so, we're going to talk about how this project came to fruition and actually how my audience can get involved. So, because both of these people are named John, I'm going to be calling them Mr. Conover and Mr. Fiore so we don't get confused. So, to kick it off, Mr. Conover, how did you get into this? Because, again, we've known each other, about 30 years now, and this is kind of a new thing for you.
Well, I've always loved the genre of film. Or the genre of gangster films, and film in general. As you know, I used to work at. I was a part-time worker at Parky's Video, which was a video store going back here, and I would take home dozens of movies each week, go to the point where I would be sneaking in the guidance office, watching them in school, because the back room of our guidance office had a VHS player, so I would be watching them when I shouldn't have been. So I've always loved film, and The Godfather was always playing around my house. I grew up, but I know every line to it. And it's one of those things where I just always wanted to do this. I always wanted, and I was an English major in college, and I always knew my way around some writing, and something that I just always wanted to do. So I kind of took those two passions of mine and put them together and just said, put up or shut up, and I need to do this. And I just sat down one day, sitting on Mulberry Street, having a coffee, sketching out on a napkin. By the end of breakfast, I had everything ready to go. And 3 years later, I had an entire series written, a 6-episode series.
Awesome. And shout out to Parky's Video and the D'Onofrio family. I remember many a day in Parky's and actually being behind with Jason and his brother Joel and watching all those screeners. Good times indeed. Mr. Fiore, how did you get involved in this project? Because you have a long time in the industry, also as a producer and a writer. What drew you in?
Well, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, John, but I met Jim Glorioso, right, our director, on another film I was working on. And then as things are in this business, one thing led to another. And this was proposed to me, and I got to know John, and it just came to be like things do relatively quickly. I like the concept, I like the people, and I went up there and bing, bang, boom, we did it. We were all so into it. It was a wonderful experience. Everybody was so in sync, so passionately involved in it. And it was a pleasure to do it and then to become friends and hopefully have a big smash successful show in our hands here. So I believe that's going to happen.
Absolutely. Now, John, let's talk about this because this is actually like a period piece right around the time, not so much the birth of reality TV, but when it's starting to become big, right? Mm-hmm. And your main character is kind of approaching this world of crime in his neighborhood and saying, we can make a series out of this. Big Carmine, the character that Mr. Fiore plays, he's apprehensive, but somebody else decides to take him up on it. First of all, where'd you come up with the concept, and why did you pick 2005?
Well, right. It's a big year because that's the year I had my first son, and I'd be staying up late at night with him because he couldn't go to sleep. So I had to just see what was on TV, and there was all this reality TV on it. And it's kind of like the newest thing. Every show you'd turn, reality TV this, reality TV that. At the point where I got annoyed with it. And I've always been fascinated by the concept of reality TV. I have this suspicion that it's not real. It's kind of like that thing with professional wrestling. Nobody talks about it, but it's like we all kind of know it's not real. But reality TV, you're thinking, how can they just all of this be real when cameras are in their face and lights and producers and everything going on? And so I had this idea. I was like, well, a lot of struggling actors at this one point, they just sometimes they just get to the point where they're not getting the gigs that they need to. And I thought it was a great concept for a struggling actor to kind of just say, hey, I need to adapt with the times, and I need to start my own thing because it's not working for me. So I need to, jump on this new bandwagon that something's called reality TV. And it's kind of like, I kind of wanted him to kind of be one of the pioneers of it. The problem is when you mix, something like reality TV with organized crime, it doesn't quite go together because it's very, very in the forefront, very public. And many gangsters, and one of my main characters, one of the John plays, Carmine, is one of these old school guys. It just feels like it's just too much exposure. It's just too many people with their eye on it. But if you really look at the history of the mafia, the one constant for them is money. Whatever makes money. So if one guy feels that this is too much exposure, kind of an old school mentality, there's always one or two guys that just want to take it to the extreme and want to be out in the limelight. Maybe to the point, and this character, Junior Santino, Junior feels like this kid's got a great idea and he could extort him and make a lot of money from the idea. It's one of those things where he's got to do it under the nose of Big Carmine, because if he gets a hold of it, and that's kind of what they try to do, but something goes terribly wrong. A lot of things go terribly wrong, and it adds for a lot of conflict on the part of our main character, Vinny Pasqualino, because here he is trying to make his dream. He needs somebody's cash to do it, and he's trying to just keep it on the download in something that you really can't because it's public.
Absolutely, and he needs access to that world. Kind of circling back to the reality TV show aspect of it. Mr. Fiore, you've been in this business for decades. In fact, you kind of preclude that era. Number one, what do you think about reality television, where it's brought the entertainment industry? But what trash reality TV do you enjoy?
I don't really enjoy any of it. I'm aware of it, of course, because it's in your face. Mm-hmm. And but it's kind of run its course to me. Let's say the Kardashians, even they're at the end, right? They're done, I believe. You're aware of it. I don't watch it. I never really did. But of course, you can't help but be aware of it. Mm-hmm. So there it is. And we all said that this would be the end of entertainment. It would be the end of actors, because so many hours of TV were being filled up with reality TV, easy to produce, cheap, and bing, bang, boom, there you go. But I think it's kind of leveled off somewhat. And of course, this is dated. This is a period piece. So it's right at the right timing. And it inherently seems ridiculous to ask a crime figure to be involved in a reality TV show. But when you really think about it, it's not at all. Because a lot of these crime figures, even though my guy's old school, look at John Gotti. He didn't mind the limelight. Joe Colombo before him, he didn't mind the limelight. A lot of them don't mind it. And then you kind of get swept up in it to a degree. Even some family in New Jersey was heard bragging that The Sopranos is about us. Mm-hmm. Oh, no, it's about us. Some other family would say it's really about my friend Tony and this guy and that guy. So everybody, no matter what they say, sort of gets a little wound up in it, So I thought it was a great concept at the very first, I'm like, how has that? But then, like I said, you think about it for more than a second. Why not?
Yeah, and I think it's kind of brilliant in that sense. I mean, you even look at somebody like Sammy the Bull Gravano, who,
everybody.
A convicted murderer basically many times over. Then, after they give him a new identity, gets caught up in that ecstasy scandal and is still giving interviews today. There's some very in-depth interviews with Gravano and how he feels.
He's got his own podcast. He's a celebrity killer. If you look on YouTube under the comments, people write to him like he's Marlon Brando, thanking him. Hi, Sammy. Hope you're feeling well. Jonathan, you've seen them. I mean, it's just listening like the guy never did anything wrong. So it has, over time, all melded into one big pot of entertainment / content / whatever you want to call it.
And it's kind of interesting that you say, because they've been told that a lot of guys were when The Godfather came out, even mob guys started dressing different. They started dressing up and taking on that role, like, okay, I'm somebody, I'm kind of famous, without the cameras or anything like that. But the fact that The Godfather came out and it was the first real movie to bring it to light with such realism that guys were like, yeah, I am this kind of celebrity. I am this. People are looking at me now. And even though that kind of goes against their codes that they came into, it was one of those things where they were doing it a little bit differently and changing their personalities. And sometimes they could get away with it, and other times, it would just go. They would go too far. And
Right.
And that's kind of where my story lies, where one guy is taking it a little too far, and the other guy is saying we can't have this, and that's where you get the major conflict. And here you got this actor who's just trying to do what he wants to do to make it in the world, and he can't, and he's caught in this world and this war, of two schools of thought. And it's very every mob family, I don't care what city, it's all the same. You have those two types of guys, and I kind of wanted to personify that with two different characters.
Yeah, it's really well done. It's what we've shot so far is extremely well done, and the people are going to love it. Not to mention, I'm going to invest in the Down the Shore tracksuits that Jonathan and I love so much.
We
that
have
became a staple of. Speaking of things, like look at the mob tracksuit. You got to look at it in the context of history, because it seems so ridiculous now in a way. But looking back in the 70s, 80s, it didn't seem so ridiculous to see a mobster in a tracksuit, right? We all kind of went, they wear tracksuits, but we didn't really laugh at it necessarily.
No, I was a tracksuit guy. It wasn't necessarily the mafioso stuff and the Goodfellas stuff, but
still a tracksuit guy.
Yeah, so am I. They're comfy, they're cozy. I like the stripes. I
have 45 of them.
That's right. You have an extensive collection. See, I don't have the bottoms and tops. I got a lot of tops. I got a lot more like tracksuit and jeans. Not the full deal. I'm kind of a poser in that respect.
Okay.
Yeah,
You can mix and match a little bit. Don't mix brands though. We've talked.
No, none of that. Whoa, guy.
That drives me. That'll seriously mess me up for the whole. If I see somebody a perfect stranger, I'll be bothered. You won't see any of that in this movie.
No.
All right, that's what I like to hear. So let's talk about it, because it is kind of brilliant. There haven't been many period pieces that are tackling either of these issues, or even really this time period, at least as a series. You've had, of course, a lot of, war on terror or, 9/11 type period pieces, etc. You've also had like the Snowden stuff, but mostly historical. You haven't had a look at a mafioso family in especially an Italian one, really since The Sopranos that's taken off, right? You've kind of had, again, some period pieces like Boardwalk Empire, etc. And there hasn't been really an inside look on the making of reality television, especially reality television that isn't just putting a bunch of celebrities in a house or a bunch of kids in a house, but instead actually following around real people. So I think in that respect, John, you not only have a niche, but a brilliant niche.
Well, that's one of what my writing professor always said, all of them, be original. Because there are so many period pieces of that genre. You have to be original, because not only the fact that you want people to have new, fresh ideas, new set of eyes to watch it, new audiences to watch. I mean, I think about the kids. I call them kids. The millennials kids. In their 20s and in early 30s. They are, they are in tune with The Sopranos. They are watching it for the first time, and they are hooked. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I read a lot about it, and they are absolutely hooked with that. So why not give them something that they're more familiar with? They're not going to be as familiar with some of these other period pieces from before, like we are. Our parents, my parents were baby boomers, and I wanted to kind of bring it to a more updated level with a new audience, with an original concept. So, it's more relatable, because you have to change. You have to adapt with your audience, or people aren't going to pay attention to it, or they will, but there should be other stuff out there. I mean, I remember the story that, Goodfellas, a lot of people don't know that Goodfellas, when it came out in 1990, Donnie Brasco was right in there as well. It was about to come out, or they're about to start making it, and they had to hold off for 6 years because Scorsese put this movie out and it was so good. They're like, nobody's ever going to pay attention to it because it pretty much covered a lot of the same era, you know?
Well, Goodfellas is a superior film. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, Donnie Brasco, still a good film, but come on. I mean, Goodfellas is the superior film.
But, you know, they had to wait, 7 years. That's what the director said anyway, 7 years to get to that point. But you're right. I agree.
So let's talk about it. People can actually get involved in this project. If they go to the Down the Shore TV series, Indiegogo, you have a lot of packages for people to become producers and really get involved at the ground level. Let's talk about that.
Okay, well, one of the great parts about Indiegogo, and I've done a lot of research and learning about what this is all about. For people that don't know what Indiegogo, it's crowdfunding. There are many crowdfunding sites. There's GoFundMe, there's Kickstarter, there's all these different things for products. You want to invent something, you need startup cash. But Indiegogo is really good because it gives a lot of independent projects, film, music projects, one of those kinds of things. So one of the kind of the norms that I've kind of learned about is, putting the people, yes, you can give them perks where, you might get a t-shirt, you might get a baseball cap, some swag. Everybody loves swag. But the real cool perks are the ones where it puts you in the driver's seat, where you can direct a scene. We name a character after you. You, get in as an extra with some principal characters, or, you get to actually write a few lines or change a few lines and know that it's yours. It's kind of like taking ownership of it at a level. And we kind of have structured the levels where we want people to feel a part of the project, because obviously they're going to be helping, fund what a pilot for hopefully a great idea of what I can hopefully produce. But we want to kind of make it like a family. No pun intended.
Uh-oh.
No, Jay, you're muted.
You're right. I am muted. My God.
We're recording, so he can
No,
add.
that's amateur hour. How dare I? Look, that's one of the aspects that I do love about this, because when media is strewn out over so many services right now, like John, for instance, Fiore, he's in Coda, and that's Apple TV, and you've got that, and you've got Amazon, and you've got Netflix, and so Hulu, and so Disney Plus, all these streaming services now. You have more of a way to get this out digitally across platforms, and the chance that this does get picked up on one of those platforms and becomes the next smash hit. Right? Whereas, old Hollywood, it was very rigid. If it wasn't, even if you were on Showtime, what were the chances? Right? HBO really has that moniker. Hey, there's another one right there, HBO Plus. So the landscape has changed so much, not only in the past decade, but especially in the past 2 or 3 years, with all these services kind of coming into their own. Is that almost the goal, to get a Netflix or an Amazon Prime, or would you rather be on a network? What are your thoughts on that, both Mr. Conover and Mr. Fiore?
Well, I would say any of the combinations above are fine. It'll find where it needs to be. I'm a believer in that. If it's Netflix, great. Amazon, great. HBO, any of those, Showtime, they want to pick it up. It's all good. The fact that somebody's interested in it is the main thing. And, with the names we've mentioned here, you can't go wrong with any of those. That's for sure. There's a strong appetite for this genre. And like Jonathan says, it's got a new and fresh spin on it. And I can, attest to what he said earlier about young people watching The Sopranos, because I get emails from all over the world on social media, which I'm astounded by. Really. Young people in their 20s watching the show, fanatical about it, and it's pretty amazing. So the appetite is there. It's on the right track. It's an original take of a beloved genre, and I think any number of those outlets we mentioned will be coming knocking. I really do.
Yeah. Excellent. What do you think, John?
Well, I think the playing field has been leveled, because what has been years in the making with network television, and trying to get, there were time slots. I mean, if you looked at NBC would have their or TBS, ABC, all these networks would have their time slots, and they would, on the beginning of the season, they would say, okay, what's going to be where? And it was so limited. And then you had cable come in, and so cable started producing some things, so it loosened up a little bit. And now it's like the Wild West for writers and producers and directors. It's like the time is now to make this content, because it's just so prevalent for people like us, and there's just more of a chance. It's just a law of numbers.
It's very true. I made a film 20 years ago, a feature film, before all this stuff we're talking about. And this goes to what you were saying. You make the film. If you don't make it to the movie theater, which there was a very good chance you were not going to, well, let's be honest about it. That's just how it was. The deck was stacked against you to make it there. So, okay, maybe I'll get on DVD. And if you don't get there, you were done. That was it. The ride was over. So this opens up everything. Of course, there's more people trying it. You can use cheaper camera. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
No,
the
absolutely.
Quality will rise.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing.
They're making a lot of a lot of these streaming companies are kind of sharing it. So like when one is done with it, they'll pass it to another one.
Mm-hmm.
When Cobra Kai came out, I bought YouTube specifically because it was so good.
Yeah.
And then it went to Netflix. You know what I mean? They
Yes.
passed it. So it's getting like a double run. It's like a movie that came out in the theater, and then a year later, 2 years later, they say, let's rerun that movie, which they don't do. So it's just giving everyone more opportunity to show their stuff,
Absolutely.
Right. And the expectations too, like when you make these films, like when I made my thing 20 years ago, again, the business model was different. I had a certain naivete. When I went for investors and this and that, I said, we're going to be rich. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And I didn't know a lot of this stuff. Now I tell people, even friends, I go, we're not in it for the money, which sounds ridiculous, but it's not. You're in it to be good. So if it's good, then you'll get the money.
Right.
So you just do it the best you can, and everything else falls into place after that. That's all you got to do.
And that's been our philosophy from the start. That's been our philosophy from the start. Everybody I worked with, Jim Glorioso, Ronaldo Mancini, Nick Albanese, all the guys, Vinny Velez, all the people that have been a part of this project, we had a focused issue, and there were no egos or nothing like that. We don't care. We just want to make good content, and we want people to like what it is. That's the reward for us. You know what I mean? Because we can afford to do that at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what we want. That's the goal. That's what more people need to do. A lot of people go into this business for the wrong reason. I want to be rich. I want to be famous. I want to be a movie star. That all comes, right? But you want to be, of course. But I'm just saying that, be good at what you're doing, like John just said. And if you are, people will notice, and then that will come later on.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, I love the story, John. I love the project, and I hope in 6 months or a year I'm going to have you back when we announce that this thing has been picked up for those 6 episodes. So once again, tell people how they can get involved in this project, because again, that's such a unique aspect of this, and your Indiegogo, what they can do, what you're looking for, and where it goes from here.
Well, the culture has changed. Like we've been taught, it's kind of like the theme of today's podcast. The culture has changed when it comes to filmmaking, but also with distributing, okay? Because not only can people see your content or your crowdfunding campaign or anything, they can share it with people. They can push this. They can, and that's kind of what I've been, asking people to do, or we're going to be asking when we do launch, like to say that, it's thank you. If you donate to our project, there's a lot of great perks. We so appreciate you being part of this, and, trying to make a dream of all of us come true so we can all work together. But more so and not only with donating, but sharing this stuff, because that's where the business is going. If you see actors online, they're so grateful, not only for, who's investing in their project, but who's promoting them. And this is all, the promotion business has changed greatly. John, you would probably definitely agree with this one.
Absolutely. No, it's how it is.
Well, excellent.
New era.
New era. Well, Mr. Fiore, Mr. Conover, It has been a pleasure. I obviously wish you the best, and any kind of updates, we'd love to have you back. And again, the link will be below for the Indiegogo if you want to get involved in this great project. Any last words, gentlemen?
Check it out, baby. That's all.
Well, there you go, guys. Thanks for joining me.
I'm just so grateful for, number one, you having us on the podcast and helping us, with something that we really love. And I'm extremely grateful to Ramjack Productions and to our whole team, everybody from crew members to everybody, to our actors, to everybody who just all see this vision as legit and something that we can definitely bring to people as a team. And that's what means the most to me out of anything. So I'm just very grateful. People like John and everybody I've mentioned have been just a great part of this, and you all can too. I guess is my point and my segue. That check it out, because this could be something we could all be a part of this.
That's absolutely right. Conover, you almost had me tearing up at the end. I can't wait. I know this project's going to be great. Guys, once again, thank you, and we'll see you on the flip side, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.